Welcome to Ajat Bioacademy. Today's lecture topic is Renin Angiotensin Aldosterone system and blood pressure regulation. So, actually, in our body, blood pressure is regulated and controlled by two ways. One is very quick process, another one is very slow process. So, quick process, within your with the help of your brain and your cardiac baroreceptor, very quickly sympathetic and parasympathetic pathway, the blood pressure is very quickly regulated and controlled by heart rate and cardiac output like that. And another one is blood pressure is regulated and controlled by the long-term process, that is renin angiotensin system, by this way. Okay, so our today's focus point is renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So renin angiotensin aldosterone system, that will work when your blood volume is low by any ways, by hemorrhage or low by intake of water or something, by some other reasons. When blood volume is low, that is blood pressure is low, then that system will be activated and it will try to increase your blood volume and blood pressure. Okay, so this is the matter. And if opposite occur, so that system will be inhibited. Okay, so how that system will work? So firstly, you have to know about the renin, angiotensin and aldosterone. Okay, so how, from where that will release and how it will contribute to just elevate the blood pressure in a certain condition. Okay, so come to the point. Firstly, you have to know the basic of nephron. So usually we know this is the uh, mm, nephron. Okay, this is the nephron, and if I just draw very roughly in that way, okay, this is the glomerulus, this is afferent, you can say afferent arterial, this is efferent arterial, okay, and this is the proximal convoluted tube, this is loop of Henle, this is distal convoluted tube, and this is the collective duct. Okay, so actually this is very simple structure, but actually in that way, within your body, nephron does not exist. Okay, how nephron exists? I'm trying to draw here. So this is the Bowman capsule, and you can say this is your glomerulus. Okay, so this is the afferent arteriole. From heart, your blood will enter into the glomerulus, and this is the efferent arteriole. Okay, and this is your proximal convoluted tube. Okay, and this is your Bowman capsule. Okay, and this is your distal convoluted tube, and this would be the collecting duct. Okay, collecting duct, distal convoluted tube, proximal convoluted tube, and this is the loop of Henle. This is the descending loop of Henle, this is ascending loop of Henle. So I'm trying to just draw in that way, because here the distal convoluted tube, here is the area is mostly attached with the just the external area of the glomerulus, that is extraglomerular region. Here some connective cells. Through this connective cell, the distal convoluted tube and glomerulus extracellular space is connected, and here some special type of epithelial cell are there that is very dense. Okay, that is called macula densa, and here some connective tissues, connective cells, and extra glomerular cell. Okay, So that cell, you can say, we'll just try to draw in a separate way. So just I'm trying to give you some basic. Okay. So this is the glomerulus. This is glomerulus, and this is the extraglomerular region. Here some connective cell. Okay, and this is macula densa. And so how it will exist, and why these two regions is highly connected. That here is the very important region to control the blood pressure and to blood flow within the nephron, and that is the very important to absorption and reabsorption. Okay, so here just I'm trying to draw. This is, you can say, this is the Bowman capsule, and this is your this is the artery. So you can say from here the blood will enter, that is efferent arteriole. This is the efferent arteriole. Okay, and here that region, that is distal convoluted tube, the particular region which is composed of a particular epithelial cell, that is, this is the area, and here is the special type of cell. This is your distal convoluted tube inner part, and that very dense area is called macula densa. Okay, and here is the glomerulus, and here is some cells. Actually, it should be drawn in by different color. That will be very easy to understand. Okay, so these are some cells which is present in extraglomerular region, and some connective cells are there to just separate the macula densa and the glomerulus, extracellular glomerular cell. Okay, and if I just say in another thing, that is within this wall, some another within this wall, that means, you know, the blood vessel has several layers, tunica intima, tunica media, like that. So the wall of the, within the wall of the afferent arteriole, some another cell is present, okay, within the wall, and that is, you can say, that is called juxtaglomerular cell. Okay, and this cell, this extraglomerular cell, which is basically specialized smooth cell, and this is called Pulci. Okay, and this is the macula densa. So why these regions are very important to control the blood pressure? So when the low volume of blood will just enter within your afferent arteriole, and your juxtaglomerular cell and the region of Pulci, extraglomerular space, some cells are there, that is called Pulci. These two types of cells will just try to measure the whole blood flow as well as the pressure. Okay, so in that two region, you can say this two region can be called renal barrow receptor. Okay, renal baroreceptor. That means when low volume of blood will just enter into the afferent arteriole, the juxtaglomerular cell will be activated. And then what will happen? It will release renin. Okay, so renin will release. I can add another thing. Polkacin can also release renin. Okay, that polkacin is present just extraglomerular space, and by the help of connective cells, it is connected with the macular densa. And macular densa is another sensitive region, which is basically responsible for measuring sodium. Okay, so we can say this region is sodium sensor. Sodium sensor. Okay, you can say this region is chemoreceptor. Okay, so to measure the blood pressure, each and every nephron has the juxtaglomerular cell, Polkacin, that is extraglomerular cell, and the macular densa. Okay, so this macular densa, I'm trying to draw macular densa, Polkacin, and the juxtaglomerular cell. Okay, this region is called juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay, so juxtaglomerular apparatus is the basic area of a neuron to just measure the pressure as well as to measure the sodium concentration within the nephron. And how it will work. Now the point to discuss. Okay, so already I said when the blood will enter through the afferent arteriole and it will be measured by the juxtaglomerular cell and Polkacin, and they will release renin. Okay, when renin will release, that renin will enter into the bloodstream. It will enter into the blood. Okay, just I will continue to discuss the whole process. So how in another way the renin can release. So another way is that when the through the afferent arteriole blood will enter and that will just filter through this glomerular filtration, and then sodium, potassium, and any other wastage materials will just filter through this glomerular filtration GFR, and then that will travel, and when it will just reach to the distal convoluted tube, and in the distal convoluted tube, the in the region of macular densa, that is the chemoreceptor, that is called sodium sensor, that will detect the sodium. When the sodium concentration is very low, then that macular densa will be activated and it will release. In that case, the macular densa will release prostaglandin, this is basically E2, and then you can say nitric oxide, and also it can release adenosine. Okay, although this is a completely positive influencer to activate the Polkacin to release the renin, and also it can directly activate the juxtaglomerular cell to release the renin. And it has both role, but basically it can activate the actually Polkacin and juxtaglomerular cell, and adenosine has the opposite role. That is, you can say by releasing such type of material, it can regulate the release, of renin through the Polkacin and juxtaglomerular cell by the activation of macula densa. Okay, so I'm just trying to discuss about the increasing matter of the renin. So when low sodium will reach to the distal convoluted tube, and then when macula densa will be activated, then they will release some substances, that is prostaglandin and nitric oxide, and that will activate the polcasin and juxtaglomerular cell, and they will really release renin. Okay, so renin will they will release renin. So macula densa can increase the release of renin through the juxtaglomerular cell or polcasin. Okay, and third one, your nervous system. Your nervous system, that is sympathetic nervous system. So through the sympathetic nervous system, the renin can also release, by the signal from the periphery to the nervous system, and that will activate the sympathetic nerve. That sympathetic nerve will reach to the afferent arterial, juxtaglomerular region, and polcasin region, basically juxtaglomerular region. Okay, then what will happen? So that area is the effector organ, and nerve ending will be there. Okay, then from the nerve ending, noradrenaline will release. So if you just draw, this is the nerve ending. So noradrenaline will release, and within the juxtaglomerular apparatus, some beta 1 receptor are very rich. Okay, juxtaglomerular apparatus, in basically juxtaglomerular cell there, and polcasin, their beta 1 is very much rich. So noradrenaline will bind with the beta 1. Okay, and then when beta 1 will be activated by the noradrenaline, then it will activate the juxtaglomerular cell, and that will release the renin. Okay, so renin. So by 3 ways, renin release will increase. That means when your blood pressure is low, then a central nervous system, they will try to increase the blood pressure through this process by the sympathetic pathway. Another one is low blood will flow, low blood pressure will be there, and then juxtaglomerular cell or baroreceptor polcasin will be activated, and they will release renin. And when blood flow is decreased, so ultimately the GFR, glomerular filtration, will decrease, and finally low level of sodium will enter, and then low sodium will reach to the macula densa region, and it will be activated, and it will release some substances to activate the renin release cell, that is the renin release cell, that is the juxtaglomerular cell of polcasin, to release the renin. So by this way, renin will increase. Okay, so first part, the renin angiotensin aldosterone system, renin already released. Okay, so after renin release, what will happen? After renin release, that renin will just go to the blood stream, okay, and through blood, renin will circulate throughout the body, and from liver, if you say this is the liver, from liver one protein substance is released, that is angiotensinogen. Okay, angiotensinogen will release, that is the inactive molecule. When the renin will really reach to the angiotensinogen, then angiotensinogen will convert into angiotensin 1. Okay, this is also intermediate molecule. Then angiotensin 1 will convert to angiotensin 2. Question is that in the bloodstream, angiotensinogen will convert into angiotensin 1 through by the help of renin. Where? In the bloodstream. Because from the liver, angiotensinogen will be produced and it will just come into the circulation. And within the blood circulation, angiotensinogen convert into angiotensin 1. And then angiotensin 1 will convert to angiotensin 2. Question is where the conversion will occur. Okay, so that conversion will occur in the lungs. Okay, that conversion will occur in the lungs. Suppose this is your lungs. Okay, so why the conversion will occur in lungs? Because in the pulmonary blood vessel, the endothelium region, from the endothelium region of the pulmonary blood vessel, the endothelium, a special type of enzyme will release, that is angiotensin converting enzyme. Okay, so that angiotensinogen will travel through the lungs, and within the lungs, angiotensin converting enzyme will produce, and that angiotensin converting enzyme will just turn angiotensin 1 into the angiotensin 2. That means by the help of angiotensin converting enzyme, angiotensin 1 will convert into angiotensin 2 in the lungs. Okay, and that is the active molecule. That is the active master molecule of renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Okay, so now we will start the main thing now. Okay, so renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So here is the master molecule. That is the master molecule. Okay, angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2. This is biologically active substance and which will work in several ways to increase your blood pressure. Okay, so firstly, what it will do, that is angiotensin 2 will just bind with the blood vessel. If you think this is your blood vessel, okay, so you can say this is the arterial region, and you can say this is the venous region. Okay, so what will happen on both sides, arterial blood vessel or venous blood vessel, both carry angiotensin receptor, angiotensinogen 2 receptor 1 and 2, but here 1 is present. Okay, angiotensin 2 receptor, angiotensin 2 receptor 1 and 2. So this is the angiotensin receptor, and it will bind to the angiotensin receptor and it will just contract the blood vessel. Okay, so if you contract the arterial region of the blood vessel, and it will contract the vein. So when vein will contract, any ways when blood vessel will be contracted, that is vasoconstriction will occur, then blood pressure ultimately increase, because the lateral pressure increase or peripheral resistance will increase. Okay, so when the vein will be constricted, then what will happen? The blood within the vein will directly go to the heart. Okay, so the venous return will increase, because within our body the maximum blood retained within the blood vessel vein. That means vein carry the maximum blood. About around 70% blood stay within the vein. So when angiotensin 2 will just constrict the vein, then it will increase the venous return to the heart. And when heart blood will just quickly enter into the heart, then of course heart will quickly send to the lungs, and then it will again back to the heart, and the cardiac output will increase. And when cardiac output will increase, then it will just reach to the artery. So arterial pressure will increase. Okay, so blood pressure will increase. So first function is increase blood pressure by vasoconstriction. Okay, so angiotensinogen 2 constrict the blood vessel. It will increase the venous return to the heart, and also it will constrict the blood vessel and increase the peripheral resistance. So by both ways, ultimately BP will increase. Okay, because that system or renin angiotensin system is primarily activated because your blood pressure was lower, and then it is trying to just angiotensin is trying to increase the blood pressure. Okay, so this is the first one. Second one, it will just the second one is angiotensin 2 will bind with the cap of the kidney. Okay, so this is the cap. The name of the cap of the kidney is the adrenal gland. Okay, because angiotensin 2 will bind with the angiotensin receptor in the adrenal gland, and from the adrenal gland, from the cortex region, it will just increase the release of aldosterone. Okay, so this is the aldosterone. So already we already discussed about the angiotensin, we discussed about renin, and now here is the aldosterone. So this aldosterone, now it will work on the nephron. Okay, so where basically in the distal convoluted tube, okay, and collective duct. In that region, aldosterone work. Distal convoluted tube and the lower part. So here, lower part means over there, basically. So how it will work and how it will increase the blood pressure. So aldosterone, basically in your distal convoluted tube region, here some special type of cell, that is the principal cell. And on that surface of the cell, aldosterone, so if you just think about this is the cell of that principal cell, and over there aldosterone will just enter into the cell, and it will bind with the special type of protein, and that protein will manage to enter into the nucleus, and nucleus contain a genetic material, and genetic material contain a special type of genes, and aldosterone will just activate particular genes, and it will just now when the gene will be activated, then it will increase the blood volume and blood pressure. So now I am just trying to discuss about that. Okay, discuss on that. So here is the aldosterone. When aldosterone bind with that region of the gene, That is, you can say this is gene A, you can say this is a gene B, or you can say this is the gene C. So this gene A is responsible for the production of sodium potassium ATPase pump. Okay, so where it will produce the ATPase pump, and B is responsible for the production of sodium channel. And actually, the pump is also a protein, and channel is also a protein, and that will increase the potassium channel. Okay, when the gene will be activated or expressed, the final product of the expression is protein. So special types of genes are there within the principal cell, and those genes will be activated by the aldosterone, and it will produce sodium potassium ATPase pump, sodium channel, and potassium channel. And what is the function of these channels? Okay, and how it will increase the blood pressure. Okay, so just come here. So if you think, already I said that in that region of the distal convoluted tube principal cell are there. So I'm just trying to draw. This is the lumen of the renal tube. Okay, and this is your cellular part, cellular region. Okay, and this is your blood vessel. Okay, this is your blood vessel. So this region is called basolateral membrane. And this region is called, this membrane level is called the luminal membrane, or you can say apical membrane. Okay, so just try to understand. This is the renal tube in the proximal distal convoluted tube. This is the inner part. Through this way, that will all the content will travel, and what will happen? That sodium potassium pump, which is already produced from the particular gene, and that gene is already activated by aldosterone. That means by the help of aldosterone, sodium potassium ATPase pump is just produced. Okay, so that channels will just locate over the basolateral region, suppose over there. So these are the channels. These channels are sodium potassium ATPase channel. What will happen within the cell? From the cell, it will just exit the sodium and enter the potassium through this channel. Okay, so from the cell, sodium will enter into the bloodstream. Okay, bloodstream through the interstitial space. Okay, by the sodium potassium ATPase pump. And when the sodium channel will produce more by the activation of aldosterone, that sodium channel will just embedded in the luminal membrane, suppose here, luminal membrane. Then what will happen? Through this tubular lumen, the sodium will just enter from the lumen to the cell through this sodium channel. That means sodium will enter into the cellular part, and then it will just enter into the bloodstream through the sodium potassium ATPase pump. Okay, and another one is the potassium channel, and potassium channel also embedded in the luminar or apical region, apical membrane, and that it can help to just exit the potassium from the cell to the lumen. Okay, so now what is the final outcome? The final outcome is that sodium will just cross the lumen to the cell through the luminar sodium channel, and from this within the cell through this sodium potassium ATPase pump, it will just travel to the bloodstream. Okay, so ultimately sodium is very rich in blood. Okay, so when sodium will flow, then you can say water is just running after of sodium. That means when sodium will pass, just water will follow the sodium because of the osmolarity. Okay, so water will also pass from there to the blood. So ultimately, sodium and water will increase within the blood. So blood volume will increase, and ultimately blood pressure will increase. And here another thing is your potassium is just enter into the lumen, and that will just exit from your body. That means this system just retaining the sodium and water and exit the potassium. So through this process, the blood volume increase and blood pressure increase. So second function of the angiotensin 2 is that it will just activate the adrenal gland, and adrenal gland will produce aldosterone, and that aldosterone will just increase the retention of sodium and water by the increase the reabsorption of sodium and water from the distal convoluted tube to the blood. Okay, so this is the second function of the angiotensin 2. Okay, so second function of angiotensin 2 is just second function sodium and water retention. Okay, and third function is that angiotensin 2 will just enter or just travel to your brain. Okay, travel to your brain, and it will activate the hypothalamus, and that from the hypothalamus then activation will passes to the pituitary gland, posterior pituitary gland, and that from there ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone, vasopressin will release, and that vasopressin will just go to the collective duct. Okay, so like that, just adjacent to that distal convoluted tube, collective duct, over there it will just increase the reabsorption of water. Okay, so it will reabsorb water, and when water reabsorption will increase, then blood pressure, blood volume will increase, and blood pressure increase. Okay, so this is the second one. And third one, you can say when your blood volume will decrease and blood pressure decrease, then ultimately your sympathetic pathway will be activated, and that will just activate the juxtaglomerular apparatus by the releasing of noradrenaline, and then it will increase the renin, and then pathway will follow the same mechanism. So this is all about the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Okay, so now just I'm trying to sum up the whole things within very short time. Okay, so now renin angiotensin system or renin angiotensin pathway is basically the process of long-term blood pressure regulation. When your blood pressure will be normal or decrease or lower, then your renin angiotensin pathway will be activated. Then what will happen when the low blood pressure blood will enter into the afferent arteriole? Then afferent arteriole baroreceptor will measure the pressure, and then it will be activated juxtaglomerular cell and pulcacin, and it will increase the release of renin. And that renin will activate the angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1, and by the help of angiotensin converting enzyme, it will produce angiotensin 2, and that angiotensin 2 will work by this process. And another one, when the low blood flow will occur within the glomerulus, then ultimately low sodium will be there, and low sodium will be detected by the macula densa, that is called chemoreceptor, and it will produce some prostaglandin and nitric oxide, and that will activate the juxtaglomerular apparatus to produce renin, and that renin will follow the same mechanism. And the third one is by the nervous system, the signal will reach to the sympathetic nerve, and that will, from the ending of the sympathetic nerve, it will increase the noradrenaline, and that noradrenaline will bind with the beta-1 receptor that is very much rich in the juxtaglomerular cell, and then it will produce renin. And by this renin, the activation of angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1, and it will occur within the bloodstream. And when angiotensin 1 will travel to the liver, and liver is very rich of angiotensin converting enzyme, which is produced basically by the endothelium of the pulmonary blood vessel. And over there, angiotensin 1 will convert to angiotensin 2. And that angiotensin 2 is very active, biologically active substance, and it will work to increase the blood pressure through the activation, through the binding of angiotensin to receptor. And by this way, it will just directly causes vasoconstriction and increase the peripheral resistance to increase the blood pressure. Also, it can increase the um, uh, adrenal gland to produce aldosterone, and that aldosterone will increase the sodium and water retention, and finally it will increase the release of ADH, that is your vasopressin, and that will increase the increase the water reabsorption, and that finally will increase the blood volume and finally blood pressure. So when your blood pressure is lower, then that system will work. Okay, and when that your blood pressure will be normal or higher, that system will be suppressed. Okay, so this is the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So thank you very much.